Good afternoon. My name's Tony Hunter, previous Chief Executive of the Social Care Institute for Excellence, which is where I knew John. One word I'd always associate him with is integrity. The help he gave us at Sky in focusing inwardly on what co-production would mean and then transferring that learning to the outside environment in consultancy projects was incredible. Always an understated man, but actually very, very powerful. Incredible impact. Miss him greatly.
Hi, I'm David Ashley. John has always been a prominent figure in my professional life. We crossed paths regularly and later became friends who would check in with one another from time to time. John's story demonstrates that you need to have conviction and be brave if you want to affect change and make things better for you and those that follow. Paving the way for the lawful use of direct payments, John pursued a course that required him and others to break the law to demonstrate how much better things could be. He managed to do this with grace and poise, and in my mind, this makes him a true hero. Thanks, John.
When I think of John, the first thing that comes to mind is his unwavering commitment to disability rights. He was steadfast in his campaigning and uncompromising in his defense of justice for disabled people. John never shied away from speaking truth to power, and he never watered down his message. Yet, what made him truly remarkable was that he combined this fierce determination with a warmth and affability that drew people to him, even those we might have considered our political foes. He showed that it was possible to be principled without being hostile, and that made him not just respected, but deeply admired. For me, John was more than just a campaigner. He was a shining example of what really mattered: integrity, courage, and compassion. He taught me so much about what disability leadership should look like, not in an abstract way, but through the way he lived and led every day. From him, I learned how to make the case for our rights with conviction and dignity, and how to carry that responsibility with generosity of spirit. These lessons continue to guide me to this day, and I know they always will. John was also a friend. Naturally, his absence is felt the most by his family and the wider movement, which has lost one of its brightest lights, but also in my own life too. There are very few people like John, and the space he has left behind is vast. He is sorely missed, not just for his leadership and his voice, but for his kindness, his humor, and the quiet strength he gave to those of us fortunate enough to call him a friend. Ossie Stewart.
Hi, I'm Catherine Marsden and I'm the Chief Executive at Sky, the Social Care Institute for Excellence. And I first met John when I first became Chief Executive at Sky during lockdown, where John was the chair of our co-production steering group. And he had a huge influence on what we did at Sky. And I think for me, one of the best things about John was his absolute passion, his dedication and his resilience and his determination to make everybody listen and learn and understand why co-production is so important. And for that, I'll be very grateful to him.
Just about a quarter of a century relationship with John. He is greatly missed from my life. This last picture of us burned into my mind forever, as I would have never imagined he'll be gone in less than 3 months after this shot was taken back in October 2024 at the George in Petersfield. I first met him in 2000 as becoming his PA, and during the time we become friends. Many travelings, journeys, and mutual memories will be with me all my life. He taught me how to balance between too much and too little in all fields of life. Not to overdo or underdo anything in life. This approach is transferred to many areas into my life and taught me how to cope with the difficulties in a mediocre way. Thank you, John. Richie.
When I think of John, I think of someone with a very calm exterior, but still resolved. John managed to balance out being calm with being unrelenting in following his values and beliefs. John was very unassuming. When I started working with him at the age of 18, I had no idea who he was, what he had done for the movement and for disabled people. As I got to know John and hear about his work, I was amazed at what he had achieved. Zara.
What I learned from John was that your own story matters, also that brown rice and cranberry juice are good for you. Anit, from March 1992, from a visit to John's family in South Wales, either taken on the Gower or close by. From June 1996, where I supported John to attend an ENIL conference in Stockholm, We stayed at Adolph's house some of the time, as did Phil and Virginia.
I used to regularly talk to John about my walks around the neighbourhood. So I've come to this little copse on the edge of the beautiful city of Sheffield to listen to the bird song and think about John. I'm thinking it would be really nice to sit outside the Earl of March, looking over the village green and beyond the River Lavant to the Trundle. Goodbye, John. It's good to have known you.
I first met John in Brixton sometime in the mid-1990s. I was working for the UK Advocacy Network, which was a national user survivor-controlled mental health organisation based in Sheffield, and I'd gone down to London to meet a group of people from the National Centre for Independent Living. I feel that John lived in the spirit of all for one, one for all, and in my eyes the best thing about him was his commitment to collective endeavour. Patrick Wood.
I met John when I was 26 years old, so 28 years ago, he was delivering a workshop on independent living and the independent living movement. The passion and determination John spoke with just captured me and provoked a career change in me. Living and working in Hampshire, I have been lucky enough to work alongside John and benefit from his wealth of knowledge and learn from his pragmatic, persuasive style. I believe being mentored by John has given me the confidence to become a disability equality consultant in my own right, and trainer despite having a severe speech impairment. To a large extent, this is due to John's patience and mentoring. Ian Speed, Managing Director of All Inclusive CIC, October 2025.
Hello, I'm Jerry Zarb. I first met John nearly 40 years ago when I first started working in disability. The best thing about John was his practical common sense. Whenever there was a problem or obstacle, he would always talk it through calmly and work out the best way to deal with it. In many ways, John was like a glacier, often appearing to be moving very slowly, but with enormous force. Most of all, to me, he was just my friend John. Amiable, quietly funny, always interesting, and just excellent company.
At the heart of everything John did was humanity. He spoke of independent living not as a policy fix but as a basic human right. He built organizations, chaired boards, advised governments, but he never lost sight of the people those structures were meant to serve. He made space for new leaders, shared knowledge freely, and stayed approachable even as his reputation grew. Tony Baldwin's son.
I'm Jana, John's wife. One of the many things I loved about John is how he supported others on their way, often making their goals as important to him as his own. To me, the reasons for this were his genuine interest in others and his firm belief in creating bonds and in being in this together. This is part of what made him such a passionate advocate for personalization and co-production. In my first ever email to John, I wrote, "If only there were more people like you in this world. It would sure make it a better place." I still think this is true. Even more so now, actually, after having been the woman by his side for almost a decade. You might not have bragged about your achievements, John, but I can as your proud wife. You were one exceptional man, and I miss you.
John Evans attended our protest in 2008, urging the state to provide personal assistance and systematically regulate their right to independent living. He joined us on a march through Ljubljana, but when he arrived at the hotel room, He was met at the reception with a large envelope containing pictures from the protest he had participated in and a controversial YHD study. In this way, he practically experienced the power and methods of operation of the National Council of Disability Organizations in Slovenia. Elena Pekaric, YHD Slovenia.
Hi, I'm Ute. I started working for John when I was 21. This was in 2000, and we quickly became friends. John taught me that I have to make the most of my life by overcoming barriers, by contributing with my own convictions, and by enjoying my life with food, drinks, wine, music, and poetry. And we did that together a lot.
I'm Rose, and though I later learned of John's achievements, I first knew him as a neighbour when I moved into Grange Road about 11 years ago, and a good neighbour. For example, when I told him I was going to host a couple of language students in the room above his bedroom, he didn't see that as a potential nuisance, but rather a good opportunity for the girls and something good that an organisation in our town was doing. That was typical.
In 1981, I accompanied John on an independent living research trip to the United States. The trip instilled great hope for the future. During 6 weeks, we experienced effects from the independent living movement everywhere. We visited 4 states and a number of CILs and met up with a lot of people. We took part in a demonstration in San Francisco, visited Ed Roberts in Sacramento, and Judith Heumann in her house on the hills of Oakland. Visiting John's former home in the northern part of New Mexico, and meeting his old friends was very emotional for both of us. An amazing and encouraging trip. The dream of possibilities for independent living became real and within reach. Thanks for inviting me. Love from Jana Slorg.
John, you are missed. A year since you left us. I knew your health was difficult, but I'd hoped you would keep on for more years to come, as you'd been doing in spite of your progressive health deterioration. John was a great leader, a tireless advocate for personal assistance, and a source of inspiration to many of us. He served as a role model, one of my role models. His dedication and efforts improved the lives of many of us.
On a personal note, the first thing I think of when I think of John is his kind and thoughtful nature. Regardless of what was happening in his life, John always found time to ask after me and my family and was genuinely interested in me as a person. I valued John's friendship very much and was honored to have played a very small part in his incredible journey. I often think of John with a smile. He is missed by so very many people. Lara Blake, Head of Business Development, All Age Continuing Care, Hampshire and IOW Integrated Care Board.
Stephen Palmer here. So this is ironic because every year for co-production week, John used to send me a video which I then uploaded to the website. John's video would be an introduction to the week, which puts the contribution of people with lived experience at the heart of decisions made about their lives. And here I am making a video about John. Now, I hope there's music at the event. When we'd start a meeting, John and I would always spend a minute or two talking about music. He'd often give me suggestions from bands from the 1970s that I perhaps hadn't even heard of. And, I wish I had a video of one of those conversations. Have a fantastic celebration.
Dear Jana and dear everybody, thank you for inviting me to give this contribution to John's memories. I met John way back in 1983, and I met him at the time where he achieved the moment for moving out from Lee Court. And that was a very special time. I remember it clearly. And John, he has always been hardworking, and most of the times he got what he wanted. Not in a very loud way, but he was working quietly and determined. I will remember a lot of things. At that time it was hard working, but it was also very nice to be there. It was a very special time when he moved out and slept for the first night at Grange Road. I will also remember a lot of other things. I remember special. I remember going down to Horndean for a can of HSB together with John and sometimes other people. Michael Good, for example. That was very nice. So I got all the best memories for John. It was so nice and I miss him very much.
My name's Pete Fleischman, and I knew John for over 20 years as a friend and as a colleague. The way John was able to be incredibly gentle, supremely practical, and fiercely principled has had a lasting impact on me. Every time I see someone being kind, I remember John. Every time a group of disabled people reaches a consensus and goes a little way forward, I remember John. And every time a disabled person asserts their right to equality, I remember John.
John made anything seem possible. Christy.
I'm Frances. I met John in 1980, and for more than 40 years we worked together, we campaigned together, and we hung out together and had fun. So in celebrating John, I wanted to highlight his achievement in bringing the idea of direct payments to the UK. He found allies and he worked to ensure that it's now a mainstream part of social care in the UK. It's such a profound change, and John was a tireless champion of the change. Working with him on it was just so rewarding, and best of all, being his friend was a deep joy.
I'm Catherine Wilton, and I knew John through my work at the Department of Health and later NHS England, where we collaborated on leadership development programmes and masterclasses. We were trying to create the conditions for personalisation and independent living to happen for more people. All our work together over the last 16 years was about growing allies and developing leaders so that more people feel empowered to lead change. We became friends as well as colleagues, and John always provided me with so much support and encouragement. And as fellow Welsh people, we love to talk politics and celebrate or drown our sorrows about the rugby whenever we met in person. I miss him every day.
Dame Philippa Russell and her son Simon at Hyannisport, the New England home of the Kennedy family. At Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy's 100th birthday party in July 1990. Like so many others, I mourn the loss of a great man. John inspired me, and Simon, my disabled son over many decades, and the independent living movement could never have happened without him. Simon was born into a world where institutionalization was thought kind, and where nobody believed that ordinary lives were possible. John challenged those negative expectations. In fact, he lived a life which was much more than ordinary. It was gloriously extraordinary, and he challenged so many anxiously negative expectations about disabled people as citizens first, talented, creative, and longing for the adventures and opportunities that the rest of us take for granted. I know how courageous John has been with his last years of ill health, but always a source of energy, vision, and always with the all-important time to share his wisdom with others. He will be so much missed, but his legacy lives on. Dame Philippa Russell, October 2025.
John's life and my life connected together for over 40 years. Putting so much time into so few words is not straightforward. We worked together, lived together, travelled together, danced together, argued together, saw friends and stayed with family, listened to music, cooked, watched football and saw every hour of the clock and all the seasons. There are many, many memories, but one huge feeling. It has been such a treat to have known him. Martin.
My name is Ines and I work for the European Network on Independent Living. I was lucky to have met John in 2005, so 20 years ago when I first started working in disability rights. Even though John was assigned to supervise me at first, he became a really good friend over the years. One thing that I'm grateful to John for is when I moved to England in 2008, John had really helped me get set up. He made sure I wasn't isolated. He made sure that I met many great people. And I feel really lucky to have known John, and I miss him, but I'm proud and privileged to have known him.
My name is Vidk Mary Melstrom. I am one of the founders of Uloba, Independent Living Norway. I have had the honor of crossing paths with some remarkable individuals, but few have left as profound a mark as John Daniel Evans. Reflecting on John's life and work, I am filled with gratitude for his leadership, his friendship, and the indelible impact he has had on my own journey. John has not only shaped the trajectory of the independent living movement, he has shaped the lives of all who have had the privilege to know him. His legacy is alive in the freedoms we have won, the communities we have built, and in the ongoing struggle for equality that he inspired us all to carry forward. Thank you, John, for showing us what true dedication, vision, and humanity look like. Your example continues to light the way.
Hi, I'm Sybil, and I know John for about 15 years. I met him through Social Care Institute for Excellence, and from when I first met him, I thought, wow, what an amazing person. He's had so much impact. He's grown through his own challenges, and if it wasn't for him, like, a lot of people's lives would be very different. So amazing.
Hi, my name's Russ, and I'm a filmmaker, and I knew John for 15 years, I think. Filmed him a couple of times, which was always great. John, the first thing I think about when I think about John is compassion, strength. He was a very strong man, and really, really cared about people. And I think those are two wonderful, wonderful things to remember him by.